Hey guys, what's up? This is Insanity, and I got another gameplay of Black Ops 3 on PC. I'm playing regular TDM on Stronghold using the Weevil, and my final score is 35-6. I think this video, since I'm not going to edit it, it's a good opportunity to talk about a topic in much more detail. And that topic for today is Batman vs Superman. Of course, once I make this video public, it'll be way beyond the time I actually watch Batman vs Superman, and Batman vs Superman being in theaters for a while. But I think it's as good of a time to talk about it as any. Anyway, Batman vs Superman, I didn't watch in theaters. I got a cam copy. I was waiting for a cam copy to show up, and there were some that I torrented which had the audio out of sync, so I just waited until I got a copy where the audio was in sync with the movie, and when I did, I ended up watching Batman vs Superman for free. But yeah, of course, quality-wise, it wasn't going to be impressive, but as long as it's watchable and I understand what is going on, then it's not a huge issue. Anyway, Batman vs Superman, what did I think of it? I think that while I was entertained to some extent, I do think that it was a very disappointing movie. And the thing was, I wasn't hyped for a movie in the first place. I mean, there probably are some people who were salivating at the thought of Batman meeting Superman for the first time in a movie. But me, since the main thing that made me not too hyped for it was the fact that I had no personal attachment to the character of Batman or Superman. In fact, the big three, or what's considered the big three superheroes, Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man, I know that they're very well known and people like them a lot, but me, they're not my favorites, and so any movie or any media portrayal involving those characters has to work much harder to impress me. I wasn't really impressed with Superman and Man of Steel, but there were some things I liked about it, and I would have hoped that the sequel could at least further Superman's story so that it could take him into a trajectory where I would eventually love Superman. I like the character of Superman. I don't love him, he's not my favorite. But basically what I was hoping for was a trajectory similar to Captain America and the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Like for Cap 1, I didn't really love the character of Captain America so much as I loved his alter ego Steve Rogers. How the hell did I screw that one up? I like Steve Rogers in Cap 1. I did not love Captain America. When it came to Captain America the Winter Soldier, that was when I loved Captain America, and I felt that they did him justice and they made him a really good character on screen. And that Captain America, because of that, Captain America would be one of my favorite Marvel heroes and one of my favorite heroes of all time. I was hoping for a similar trajectory with Superman. They had a shaky foundation of Man of Steel, but as soon as Batman came into the picture, I knew that Superman was in huge trouble. Of course, the interpretation of Superman in Man of Steel wasn't for everyone. It was highly divisive. I felt that maybe with the sequel they could at least take Superman into a place where people would be much more receptive to him, because they otherwise see him as incredibly powerful and godlike, and that will make for a very boring character. But Batman entering the picture just made things worse, because he's a new Batman. He's not related to Nolan's Dark Knight Batman. So the movie spends a lot of its time focusing on Batman, his origins, and setting up his motivations and his overall character so that there will be a plausible reason for him to eventually fight Superman. And for that, I resent Batman, because he was taking away from Superman's story. He wasn't furthering Superman's story at all. And in fact, Superman himself felt like a complete non-character. He felt like a background character. The movie has a lot of things that it's interested in, and Superman isn't one of them. And he doesn't have much dialogue, and in many scenes he's scowling or he looks very moody and depressed. And the one scene that people cite that Superman could at least express himself, explain himself to a public that both hates and loves him, he loses that chance because the scene literally blows up, not only in his face, but into my face as well, because Superman just lost his chance to explain himself, and he just continues afterwards scowling and being moody. And so the movie just doesn't want to give Superman the time of day. Batman is one reason why, and there's also the world building and Justice League stuff that takes away more time away from Superman. And the weird thing was that on the Superman side of things, I actually felt like it was more of a Lex Luthor movie. If you're going to take Superman side, if you're just going to look at the Superman side of the movie, it felt more like a Lex Luthor movie. And in scenes where Lex Luthor was not present, I still felt his presence because his plans and machinations were all over the place, but his plans were still felt in scenes that didn't have him explicitly appear, but is still related to him in some way, whether it be Batman trying to do detective work and pointing over to Lex Luthor, having some information in regards to kryptonite and metahumans, or Wonder Woman trying to get a photo from Lex Luthor, or his thugs and henchmen trying to secure the kryptonite, or Lex Luthor explicitly appearing and trying to meet up with Senator Finch and all these, basically. If Superman is a background character and a non-entity in this movie, Lex Luthor would be where Superman should be, a character who's actually doing something and is actually moving the plot forward with his actions. So Superman being a background character and the villain actually being a much more of a main character than Superman, there's something wrong with that. But yeah, I don't really agree with people who say that Wonder Woman steals the show, because her character is a mystery, which is basically another way of saying, hey look, I have an upcoming movie coming out in 2017, look forward to that, because that'll be when you really know my character of Wonder Woman. Because otherwise, she's just a walking advertisement for a movie in Justice League. She's there to kick ass during the final battle, and that's it. She does not interact with Superman at any point before the final battle, and then Batman is her only significant interaction throughout the entire movie. The main fight, the main event, Batman vs. Superman itself, was really disappointing. I knew from the many reviews that I read that the fight would be one not based on a clash of differences or ideologies, but one based on misunderstanding. And seeing it play out the way it did was really, really upsetting because it's entirely based on misunderstanding, and it's basically a one-sided vendetta. Batman has already made up his mind to kill Superman, and Superman is there trying to talk Batman out of doing anything. But the fight it didn't really matter if Lex Luthor, who had a ton of convoluted plans in place to somehow get Superman and Batman to fight each other, but it didn't really matter if he tried to get them to fight each other, because Batman would have provoked Superman into fighting him, and Batman personally was out for Superman's blood, so it was entirely pointless if he was trying to get Superman and Batman to fight each other and kill each other, because Batman already made up his mind way before they ever confront each other to fight. And also the fight itself was really disappointing, because once Batman brought in kryptonite, it was pretty much Superman being his plaything for the next couple of minutes. Superman didn't really get to do a whole lot during the fight other than tank some hits from Batman and throwing him around, but Batman got to use tools, he got to use traps, and he got to use hand-to-hand combat. Superman is a lousy fighter in terms of hand-to-hand, so all I can do is just have him do power showcases where he's using his strength to easily shove people around. and he does a little of that, but otherwise the fight was a one-sided affair. It was very poor from a story standpoint, and even poor as a spectacle. Overall, the movie, I wasn't really hyped for it in the first place, but the movie itself was really disappointing. Hope you guys enjoy this gameplay and commentary, and Insanity is out.